I'm Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact focused on personal growth, my Knowledge Workbook series and Creative Healing course can help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about I overheard late night calls and confirmed the truth. One of the most painful components of a breakup is when we find out our ex is dating other people. Oftentimes they find people in the relationship, and sometimes they have an emotional affair, sometimes they leave you for that person. And when that happens, it's even more painful because in a way you feel like you're being replaced, and you start to compare yourself to this new person and wonder why they would choose that person over you. A lot of it has to do with our behaviors in the relationship. This is why I'm always trying to get you guys to focus on personal growth. You have to look at how attractive or unattractive your behaviors are in a relationship. Hold yourself accountable. Don't just blame your ex for the mistakes they make. Don't just say, oh, well, they do this and that, and they do this and that, and so I can do it too. Well, they may do those things, but think about it. When they do them, you're probably unhappy and consider leaving them. Same thing for you, okay? Just because they do bad behaviors doesn't mean that you want to do bad behavior. I tell you guys all the time that one of the biggest mistakes that you can make in a relationship is taking someone for granted. You think that just because somebody enters in a relationship with you and they've been with you for a while, that you should not try and consider how to behave or how your behavior is impacting them. The more that you hold yourself accountable and court that person and appreciate that person and do all the great things that a connection takes to keep going strong, the more likely the relationship will continue to go strong. Sometimes we struggle with anxiety, which often causes breakups. Go watch my video, The Real Reason Relationships Fail. Depression, mental health issues, and it causes us to neglect our partner. And that means their needs go unmet. Now, it doesn't mean that they shouldn't be held accountable for not meeting your needs. It's supposed to be equal. But when you get broken up with, you have to really take a look at, what did I do to neglect my partner? If anything, some of you guys were great partners. Many of you were neglectful or struggled with your mental health, or maybe you weren't working for long periods, or maybe your family issues were affecting the relationship. There's a lot of different things that can come up, obviously. But your ex often starts to look at the relationship while they're with you and decide how happy or unhappy they are. I mean, it's not like they sit down and think about it one day. They just feel it all the time. If they've been neglected, when they make bids to connect with you, are you reciprocating? Are you meeting their needs? Are you guys wanting the same things? Are you aligned? So there's a lot of different things that you want to consider in how well the relationship is going or not going. And yeah, your exes or your partners are going to consider other people if they are neglected for a long time. Now, sometimes your ex or your partner will tell you many times, I need this from you. Can you please work on this? This has to change. And we don't take it seriously until we get dumped, right? Many of you tell me all the time, I didn't think they were going to leave me over it. Well, they told you 473 times and you didn't do anything about it. What did you think was going to happen? Nothing. I thought they were just going to stay. Well, that's not how people are. And you have to learn the hard way sometimes, right? Now, that doesn't mean that you should have to be perfect all the time. Of course, that's not true. But you have to consider the overall health of the relationship, your mental health, their mental health, and the health of the connection, how strong it is. So today I've got an email coaching from a woman that was dating another woman for 8 years, and she found out that her ex left to date someone else. And I know that that is incredibly painful, and it hurts to feel replaced. It hurts to feel like they chose someone better than you. So let me get into this one. They said that Christmas Eve would have been their 9-year anniversary, and they had met in 2016, but they met early in 2016, but they didn't start spending time together until late that year. Now, they did move in together within a few months of dating and lived together for most of that relationship. So, you know, when you make those kind of decisions, they can come back to haunt you, moving in with somebody too soon. Now, this couple obviously stayed together for 8 years, but a lot of times moving in together too soon does lead to a breakup. She says, overall, I believed we had a good relationship. Though the beginning was rocky, she was my first everything and I made mistakes. We argued often over things that should have been easy to resolve, largely due to poor communication on both sides. So what happens? You have disconnects, you get resentful, you don't want to spend time with the other person, you don't want to be intimate with the other person. Emotional safety is so important in relationships. She became upset with me frequently, though I understand in hindsight. She always told me how I was the best thing to ever happen to her, and how she wanted to spend the rest of her life with me. All her past relationships were abusive, and her relationship with her mother has always been a bit rocky. She broke up with me in the spring of 2025. I noticed her behavior changing about a month earlier, though there were likely earlier signs that I missed. After returning from a trip with her mother, she became distant and unkind. She stopped sleeping in our bed, withdrew affection, spent more time on her phone, stayed out late, and stopped communicating. She asked for space and then ended the relationship shortly after. Yeah, a lot of times people ask for space and then they break up with you. That happens a lot. In fact, it happened to a guy I did a call with today. The woman asked for space, and after about 6 days, she came back and said she wanted to break up. He was shocked. I wasn't. But, you know, space can often lead to a breakup. So you got to really figure out what's going on to the best that you can if someone asks for space, what the problems are and how to fix them. So I say focus on personal growth. Do the creative healing course every day, 30 minutes a day. Pour your anxious anxiety into that or into the workbooks. Sit down, focus on something positive instead of negative and dwelling on what your ex is thinking and doing. Do something about it. Get ready. Because many times they do come back and many times you're not ready. She said she had been unhappy for a long time and felt like a caretaker, which I understand, as my anxiety and mental health struggles affected our relationship. This is huge, guys. This is what I'm trying to tell you all the time. When you don't work on your mental health issues, your attachment issues, when you don't have the skills to take care of that relationship, and you have to look at it as something you have to take care of, it's going to get neglected and it's going to weaken. And when it continues to weaken, people are going to leave and they're going to look for other options. However, she never acknowledged her own role and placed most of the blame on me. No surprise. We'll get to why in a minute. I begged, cried, and pleaded. After 3 days of that, I apologized for how I reacted. Everything was amicable, and it seemed promising. Before I moved out, I wrote her a letter apologizing for my reaction and acknowledging her feelings once again. After that, I gave her space. During my final days in the house, she became kinder again, kissed my forehead when she got home late, brought me food, and exchanged I love yous. She told me I taught her that love doesn't hurt, said there was no one else, and implied reconciliation was possible. I don't know what was true. Okay, remember that this is like springtime, to give you an idea. And so she's getting mixed messages, you know? This woman is saying to her, I love you, kissing her head, bringing her food, and saying, hey, it's possible. And there's no one else. There's no one else. I later discovered she had left me for a coworker she had began working with in the fall of 2024. Okay. So when did that romantic connection start to happen at work? Probably not right away, but it's certainly possible. Because we have, let's see, about 8 months later is when they broke up. And then there was some time before that she had said she had been unhappy for a while, the ex. So she probably started to feel an emotional connection to that other woman. And as she started comparing herself and the excitement of someone new, as opposed to going home to someone that you feel like you're taking care of and you're irritated by them and you're not getting along anymore or not getting along as well, it's tough to compete with the excitement of someone new, right? It's like how Andy was in Toy Story when he got Buzz, right? Woody gets dropped on the floor. That's what happens a lot of times when somebody thinks they found somebody new. And it often falls apart. She introduced us once, weeks before everything happened. Boy, that just makes me feel like something was in her unconscious. She, like, in other words, like she was talking to this other woman at work. She was having strong feelings for her. And in some bizarre way or reason, she introduced this new person to her. And I wonder if on some level she wanted to get caught, or for her to say, who is this woman at work? Is something going on there? Sometimes, because maybe she was looking for an out already, and so she introduced them hoping it would get called out or something. I overheard late night phone calls and eventually confirmed the truth after I moved out. She has never addressed it with me. I feel deeply betrayed and deceived. I think a lot of us can relate to that. It's a horrible feeling. And it just makes you so hurt and angry that you can be replaced. You gotta process it. You gotta put words to it. If you don't, and they come back, you're gonna wind up in another breakup because you're still angry and resentful. I loved her, respected her, and stood by her through so much. While I made mistakes, I also did many things right, and it feels like none of that mattered. No, not right now. Because she's with this other woman and things are peachy and wonderful and great. And so you look awful. That's just the way these things play out. But if it falls apart with this other woman, believe me, that's when she's going to have to start to sit with herself and be like, I made mistakes too. And I think that could happen. After moving out, she checked on me once, but I was distant after finding out about the other person. I went no contact for 4 months, then briefly reached out in the fall to acknowledge the anniversary of her nephew's death. Well, I wouldn't have done that. I know it's a death and it's sad and it's horrible that it's a nephew, and I don't know how old he was when he passed. Believe me, absolutely terrible. But don't reach out. No reaching out means no reaching out. Initially, when I started posting on Instagram again, she was the first one to watch them all. Reminds me of little Anakin. I want to be the first one to see them all. I'm going to be the first ex to watch them all. All those stories. She even liked to post a few days later, then she stopped. Recently, we've only communicated about our 2 dogs. I remain loosely connected to her family. Why are you communicating with her at all? I don't understand. 8 months later, I still feel lost and devastated. I know it takes time. Process. Get into therapy. Sit down and do the creative healing course and the workbooks. They really make a big difference in processing. You're putting words to it. You're learning, you're educating yourself. There's therapeutic activities, especially in the course, that are meant to help you process your breakup. I did a bunch of art therapy activities in the early section of the creative healing course to help you process the breakup. And there's reflective questions that go with each activity. Seeing her move on like I meant nothing has been unbearable. I miss her deeply. I feel misled by the hope that she gave me and struggle to accept that she chose someone else who I frankly think doesn't come close to me remotely. Yeah, well, you've heard me talking about Beaky Buzzard. I understand. It happens. It happens to many of us, and those rebounds often don't last. It feels like it's going to, it looks like it's going to, and then one day you find out, wait, it's over? Just happened to a guy I did a coaching with this week. Totally shocked. He thought it was going really well with this other guy, and now they're broken up, and 2 days later, she's bringing cookies to his house. So, believe me, things can happen very quickly in a breakup. So you got to prepare because you want to be ready when it happens. You don't want to keep thinking it'll happen one day and then you're not ready. That happens to a lot of you guys. Oh, I'll do the work later. No, do the work now, today, tomorrow. Get into therapy, process, deal with it, talk about it. You got to get to a good place. This woman is still devastated 8 months later, and I get it. I've been there too. I've openly talked about that with you guys for a long time. But you got to heal and you got to deal with it. I did. I was going to Margaret twice a week, talking about it. Sometimes for hours at a time, she would stay with me. And we talked about breakups and what, trying to understand them and what people do. And slowly we incorporated all those things together with mental health. Okay, let me go on. Here's a little bit more. This destroyed me. I forgive her, but that feeling of betrayal and seeing the stuff she likes on Instagram that says she's quote unquote happy she walked away from me, that hurts worse than any of the deaths in my family. Yeah, I can relate. I know she's a beautiful soul. I know she was overwhelmed with her physical and mental health and her family and her finances, but to hurt me in that way, well, yes, those are all important. Her mental health, her physical health, her family, her finances. But don't ignore what you said up front in the beginning and what she said to you, that she had been unhappy for a long time, that she felt like a caretaker, okay? That your mental health had struggled, your anxiety had impacted the relationship. Don't forget about those things because that's what she's going to be considering. And in a lot of ways, she's going to be looking at that what you did. It's so cruel. I'm so hurt that she hasn't even apologized or acknowledged what she did. And she could, if it ends with this other woman and they break up, she could do it. A lot of times exes do it then. Craig, my soul aches. The love that I have for her is so deep and so pure and so very real. How can I get her back? Well, you can't force it. You cannot force someone to be with you no matter how much you love or how much you care about them. They have to want it too. You got to really think about what happened here. And I know you're doing the workbooks because you mentioned at the end of this email, P.S. I've been working on your knowledge series along with other resources. I've grown so much in the last 8 months. So I know you're doing the work that we've put out there for you guys, and I know you're getting into a better place. You want to get into therapy. It's going to help, and when she comes back, it's going to look better because you struggled with your mental health, right? She's going to be more likely to say, oh, okay, she's really worked on herself since we broke up. You got to process your breakup. You got to deal with your hurt. You have a lot still. Even 8 months later, you can feel it in everything that you say. If you are hurting like this and you haven't gotten to a better place when she comes back, you're going to be angry and resentful, and you're not going to be able to stay relaxed and do the things you need to do to reattract her. And you ask one last question here, is that, do you have a chance? Well, yeah, of course you have a chance. You did a lot right here, But right now, she's in a fantasy world with this rebound and thinks that the rebound's going to be wonderful and perfect. And they rarely last. Sometimes they do, of course. But when it falls apart is when she's going to be a lot more likely to process and think about your breakup and reach out to you. And I know it always seems shocking, but it's not shocking for me when I see it all the time. Like I said, I just had a guy within the last couple of days, maybe it was even yesterday, that, X ends it with this other guy. She tells him everything, just like I tell you, all the things that had happened with this guy, how this other guy came on too strong, how he had said he loved her right away, like a month into the relationship, how it made her feel pressured, how she had been pressured by her best friend, all this stuff that he was thinking and wondering. She tells him all of it, and she's going to continue to do it more. But also showing up at his house 2 days after the break. It's like she breaks up with this other guy. Then there's like 1 day in between her going to his house with Christmas cookies. Now, they broke up a while ago, too. Probably like 6 months ago. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's roughly like 6 months ago. So, exes come back all the time. Of course, there's a chance. But you got to figure out why this relationship didn't work. She had been unhappy for a long time. About what? What was going on there? Only you know. You didn't really talk about that too much. And of course, if we do a call, I can ask you a lot of follow-up questions. But keep up the hard work. You had a huge impact on this woman's life. She always told you that you are, quote unquote, the best thing that ever happened to her, and she wanted to be with you for the rest of her life. Now, of course, she meant that at the time, and feelings do change. But when somebody says that for that long, and they were together for, 8 years? Of course, you can't just forget all those things. So she very well could reach out, and you got to be in a good place and be a lot more centered than you are right now, because you're still so hurt and so angry that I think it would fall apart quick if she came back too soon. I just don't think you're ready to stay centered enough that you need to be to focus on re-attracting her. Okay? So hopefully this one's been helpful to you. If you want to get my help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Zoom calls. That's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and I will talk with you soon.